Did you know that nearly 10% of family gatherings end in a major argument? Think about that. 1 out of every 10 celebrations, marked not by joy but by conflict. Now, imagine a Thanksgiving dinner, a night meant for gratitude and connection, unraveling into something no one could have seen coming. Tonight, we explore the story of a Thanksgiving that began like any other, but ended in a way no one will ever forget. At first, it was a scene you'd expect on any Thanksgiving night. The scent of roasted turkey filled the air, laughter echoed from the kitchen, plates clattered, stories flowed. It was a night to give thanks, to come together. But beneath the surface, something else was brewing, something that no one at that table was prepared to face. Tonight, we step inside that house to witness how one ordinary evening turned into an unforgettable turning point. On the surface, everything seemed perfect. But families, like icebergs, often hide more beneath than they show above. Old wounds, long buried beneath politeness, began to stir. Resentments whispered in the quiet moments over who was favored, who was forgotten, who had given too much and received too little. Every smile hid a story. Every toast clink masked a memory best left untouched. There were secrets, old betrayals, and silent rivalries that had been simmering for years. It was the perfect recipe for disaster, and no one even realized the pot was boiling over. A casual joke here, a sideways glance there, a comment that lingered just a little too long. Little things, tiny sparks, until the whole evening was ready to ignite. And all it would take was one careless moment, one unguarded truth to set the night ablaze. At first, it was nothing. A comment about the turkey being dry, a half-joke about who hadn't set called their mother in months. Laughter followed, but it was the wrong kind of laughter, tight, forced. The kind that dies quickly in the throat. Then came the comparisons. Who had the better job? Who had the bigger house? Who had fallen short of expectations they never agreed to meet? Forks clinked against plates harder. Smiles faltered. The polite small talk began to collapse under the weight of everything unspoken. Tension crept into the room like a rising tide, slow, steady, unstoppable. Every story shared came with a double meaning. Every remember when was a minefield, ready to explode with one wrong step. One guest excused themselves to the bathroom, not for necessity but for escape. Another poured a second glass of wine, then a third. And somewhere between the mashed potatoes and the pumpkin pie, the smiles disappeared altogether. It was no longer Thanksgiving. It was a slow-motion disaster unfolding at a table set for love. No one knew it yet, but the breaking point was just moments away. It happened so fast, and yet it felt like time slowed to a crawl. One offhand comment, one tiny spark, and the room erupted. A brother accusing a sister of betrayal from years ago, a mother breaking down in tears, a father raising his voice for the first time in decades. Words sharp as knives were thrown across the table. Accusations that had been buried deep, finally unearthed. Jealousies, disappointments, resentments, one by one, unleashed without mercy. The past wasn't set, just brought up. It was dragged, kicking and screaming, into the center of that room. No one was safe, no one was spared. A secret, long hidden, was blurted out, raw, ugly, and devastating. Gasps filled the air. Someone dropped a glass. The sharp crack of it, shattering, seemed to echo forever. Silence fell, the kind of silence that suffocates. Faces turned pale. Hands trembled. Eyes welled with tears. The feast lay forgotten on the table, untouched, cold, meaningless. In that single shattering moment, the meaning of Thanksgiving was rewritten for them all. Not a celebration, but a reckoning. When the shouting stopped, all that remained was silence. A family once bound by blood and shared memories now sat scattered like the broken pieces of a dropped plate. Some stared at the floor ashamed. Others looked away, furious, wounded beyond words. There were no winners that night, only survivors. Apologies were whispered in hushed, broken voices, but many came too late. Some wounds had been reopened too deeply to be easily stitched back together. And as the night dragged on, as leftovers cooled and candles burned low, a new, colder truth settled over the house. Forgiveness is not always given freely, and family, no matter how tightly it's supposed to hold, can sometimes fracture beyond repair. Maybe if someone had spoken their pain sooner. Maybe if someone had listened more closely. Maybe if pride had been set aside even for a moment. But those maybes now hung in the air like smoke, fading but never forgotten. What would you have done if you were there? How would you have handled the unraveling of something so fragile? The comments below are your chance to share your thoughts. Was there a moment when everything could have changed? Could forgiveness have come sooner? We all have our stories. Some are healing, some are still raw, but all of them deserve to be heard. So what do you think? Let us know, and let's continue the conversation. And if you want to hear more incredible, true stories, stories where the ordinary turns into the unforgettable, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what we have in store next. Another unforgettable moment, another life-changing revelation. Don't let it pass you by.